Good morning. Thank you for joining us on a sunny day, bit cooler, but nice to see some blue skies, which I think we all need at the moment. For those who don't know me, I'm Kirsten Hunt. I run the UK business for Elliott Scott HR. When Thierry and I talked about running another session on resilience a few weeks ago now, we hadn't anticipated quite how well timed it would be. I think everyone is in need of a bit of a reboost. So, I mean, throughout the last 9 months, we have been running various coffee groups with HR leaders to really focus on discussing some of the topics that have arisen on the back of the pandemic. And I think some of the pertinent themes have definitely been around wellness, mental health. I think that whole sort of engagement piece and how people are feeling connected or not, now as we're working in that kind of new norm of the virtual reality. So I think today we really want to explore that. And I think another key point that's come up is where that line has got blurred between our professional and personal lives, and how we're managing that. So personally, I was very much in need of the session with Thierry. Thierry is a partner at the Resilience Institute. He has a very practical, very calm approach to wellness, re-energizing, reigniting a positive mindset. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to share with us today. We always want you to take some practical tips back with you. The session is being recorded, so if you do want to share it with colleagues, teammates, please do so. We want you to get as much out of this session as possible. There will be the chance to ask Thierry any questions at the end, and please do use the time to get as much out of it as you can. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much, Thierry, for joining us this morning, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. Good morning, everyone. Really good indeed to have a blue sky today, a bit cold, but clearly very nice, actually, at least for, I think, the people in the south of England. Well, and we want to clearly keep this session practical. I mean, there's no time to, make a revolution and leave everything, family, dogs, job, and go for very long holidays. Maybe for some, but for most of us, it's quite difficult to do that kind of, revolution right now. We have to stay and also, well, fight the storm. So why not we start with something really, gentle. And I would like to invite you, as we actually reach the end of the morning, and you may have actually quite some difficult start of the morning, maybe for some of you. Why not we first take the time to, well, center ourselves and, well, engage ourselves into this session. So can I invite you to sit comfortably in a chair in an upright position, not rigid, but upright, placing your hands over your lap and maybe closing your eyes. Closing your eyes and first relaxing the muscles on our face, and especially starting with relaxing this area between your eyes, between your eyebrows. Relaxing your eyebrows as if they were merging together. And feeling that relaxation spreading to your forehead, up to the crown of your head. Relaxing the muscles around your mouth. Release any tension in your jaw. You may drop your jaw, slightly open your mouth, and even maybe place a gentle smile on your lips and feel the relaxation spreading to your cheeks, to your chin, to your neck. As you inhale, pay attention to your posture, making sure you have a long and light lower spine, well aligned. And on the next exhalation, drop your shoulders, drop your arms, relax your wrist, your hands, your fingers. You may wiggle maybe your fingers one by one just to take notice of how relaxed your fingers are. Relaxing your chest, your belly, your hips, the muscle in your upper legs, in your inner thighs. Relaxing your knees, your lower legs, your calves, the muscles behind your lower legs, your ankles, and your feet. Here you may relax your toes, wiggling a bit each toe to feel the relaxation taking place in your feet. So as we are now fully relaxed, we're going to bring our attention to our breath, noticing how the body rises and falls as you breathe in and out. Just maybe bring your attention to an anchor point, which could be your belly or your chest, or your shoulder or your collarbone, whatever piece of the body that actually rise and fall as you breathe in and out. And just observe your breath without controlling it, without forcing it, just observing it. Now you may take 3 deep breaths, 3-second inhalation, 5-second exhalation. Try to just give a bit more time in your exhalation, keeping your attention on that rise and fall of your body. Now you may I should not say wake up, hopefully you did not fall asleep, but open up your eyes. Hopefully not falling asleep. If you did fall asleep, that clearly say that your night was not good enough. We'll speak about sleep a bit today. Now that we actually reconnected to ourselves, the question I'd like to ask you, it's a mood check, how do you feel? How do you feel today? You know, as you came into this new day, and each day is different. I mean, do you feel at the top, focused, positive, energized, calm, confused, disengaged, vulnerable, distressed, or depressed? How do you feel? You may check using the chat. You may just keep it for yourself. That's okay. But it would be good to, hear from you clearly. I mean, it's good to have a bit of feedback. So if you feel bold to share, please share. But just ask yourself that question. How do you feel? What is clear is each day is different. And resilience is not about being at the top all the time. I mean, obviously that's an objective, but life brings us challenges, and you can't fly high all the time. No one can. So we have to really keep in mind that being resilient is first about being aware of how we operate in life and accept that reality, that some days are more difficult. Many things we do not have control on, but the clearly, only person we do have quite some control on is ourselves. The way we feel, the way we think, the way we behave, feelings, thoughts, our actions are under the influence of others, but with training, practice, and awareness first, we can have much, much better control on how we respond to situations. So, I mean, the simple message I would like to share today, and this is a kind of follow-on from the first webinar we did a few months ago, is that reality that we are made of physical, emotional, mental, spiritual attributes. I mean, that's clearly something that has been said for a long time. There's nothing new. It's been said forever. If you think about the old traditions of the world, whether you go to India and speak with a yogi master, to China and speak with, specialists in Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine or Tai Chi, even the Greeks had that kind of holistic view. It's a very important view to keep in mind. Science is pretty clear today that this is really important to keep in mind too if we want to perform well in our life, not just in our jobs, but in our personal life without compromising our well-being. And as I said, we can't make revolution and change everything at once, but clearly simple routines can make a difference. So I'm going to really share today some proven techniques that can help anyone build their mental fitness, especially right now as we go for now, well, a long period of uncertainty. I mean, we thought it would be over by the winter. It's not. We don't even know if it will be over by the next spring. So we really need to cultivate our resilience. Now, the first step, and this is the mood check objective too, is to really accept that reality, that suffering is part of life, and the best way to bounce back, the best way to manage those difficult days, those difficult times, is to know when our resilience fails. And you see, here we describe the sequence of the fall. I mean, it's really, something that starts most of the times in our modern lives at the mental level. And I would like to ask you a question. I'm going to use the poll for that. But question around how often do you check mails and news of the day? All right, emails, news, not just emails, but how often? Can you actually respond to this question using the poll? And if you can't have access to the poll, I know sometimes it's for some it's doesn't work, so you may use the chat box to give your view. So how often do you check your emails and news? Constantly, twice a day, or during allocated time slots? Let's see. All right, let me share. I think we've got everyone. So, results, we've got, well, quite an overall majority, 91% saying constantly as they come, and well, just 9% saying during allocated time slots. So it's clearly, not an easy part, depending on the job, you may be actually requested to be always on alert, available for maybe others, but the fact is, that has a cost, and this really is often one of the key reasons why we've got that high level of confusion in the workplace and, around the world in general. Confusion as we actually collect assessment, we use assessment to before we deliver the training, and we can clearly see that most of the teams today operate at a high level of confusion, and the first reason of that is because of that constant tendency we see in doing too many things at the same time. Multitasking is really the kind of mode most of people like to operate in their day, and at a cost. Clearly we do not do anything well as we try to do too many things together. So to convince people not yet convinced that it doesn't work, a study showed that if when you go from one task to two tasks at the same time, you waste 25% of your attention and willpower into switching from A to B. When you increase from 2 tasks to 5 tasks, 75% of your attention is wasted into switching. It's not productive. I know sometimes we have no choice, but when you do have the choice, really try to avoid that type of working. And clearly, beyond productivity does have a cost on your mental health. This study from Sussex show that that kind of constant doing mode, multi-doing mode has a cost actually in terms of emotional health. So monotask really is my first advice. I mean, again, it can be difficult in some situation to just monotask, but try to really have some kind of objective in your day to have yourself working just on one thing at a time. Much more effective. And clearly, to do this well, second tip is you have to learn to reduce and manage distractions. I mean, some can be quite challenging. I mean, for now, I mean, school is still open, so it's probably easier, but you know, you do have so many distractions, so many active stimulation around you, whether you work from home or whether you still work at the office, whether it's family, whether it's dogs, whether it's actually, you know, messages, emails, notification, whoever, this has a cost on your capacity to perform. This study from California showed that it takes us up to 23 minutes to get back full focus on a task after an interruption. Actually, 23 minutes, that's the time on average we need to bring our mind into that state of flow. So think about a difficult task. You know, the type of task we tend to procrastinate. The difficult one we know will take some kind of really hard attention, hard work from us. And so we finally succeed in working on it. And then come an email. And we say, well, just a few seconds, I'm going to check my email and bring myself back to the task. Well, that will be the cost. Those few seconds can cost you up to 23 minutes to bring yourself back into that important work. So we're not paid to read emails or to send emails, and actually the kind of vicious part of email is the more email you send out, the more you respond to email, the more you get in. So it never stops. So working offline can make a difference. You may not do it, you may not be able to do it all day. Obviously, some people will worry about your capacity to be to work for the company, and that's quite unfortunate. But the fact is, at least to have some clear slot in the day, and morning for many of us is our peak of alertness. But during those time of the day when you know you've got that full energy that can have a high capacity to perform, block that time, work offline to really reduce distraction from outside. And maybe make a rule with your team to agree what could be the best slot in the day to stay to not distract each other, so we can really have time to complete tasks. Actually, BCG, Boston Consulting Group, did that kind of team initiative, and among to see what can we do as a team to be more productive, but also more balanced and more engaged, you know, in terms of colleagues, connection, and feeling of achieving something in the day. Well, among the key initiative that came first with the highest impact was that simple agreement within a team to really protect some time to work, to stay focused without other team members distracting others. So really can make a kind of difference just to have those kind of simple ground rules. Another question, I mean, I'm going to release the poll now because this is a slide. This is about connection. The question I would like you to reflect on is, how often do you have positive connection with others? So when I say positive connection means, you know, I mean, when you hang around with those people, even if it's just a chat, a 5-minute call, you know, I mean, you really feel that kind of positive energy. It does feed you with something positive. How often? More than once a day, once a week, or less than once a week. And clearly, with the COVID-19 and the confinement hitting us from this Thursday, that's going to be probably more and more difficult. But we can do it through a phone call, through a video call, clearly. So let me release the result. We've got, that's good, majority, roughly 70%, saying more than once a day, 32%, 30% once a day. So really good to see that there's a high habit of connection. That sense of connection is well nurtured. Let me actually share the result. Sorry, I just noticed I did not share the result. This is the result. You see, majority said more than once a day. So really important, clearly, I mean, we need those connection, and we are social creatures. And the problem actually, it's not in the good days. Good days, we tend to do those kind of, connection well. We have the time to have a chat, we have the time to listen to people. The problem is really when the day are busy, when we go through crisis mode, when actually we start making mistake and we lose our kind of confidence in ourselves. We have that kind of tendency to stop connecting or have less time to spend with others for good reasons, lack of time, just lack of envy. But there's a cost, because we social creatures, as we connect less, I mean that kind of emotional, positive emotional energy start going down. And so, I mean, study are also quite clear here that, and this is a state of withdrawal, which is really more an emotional risk we face today, much more than before with the confinement. Social really connectedness is well proven to protect and promote our mental health, our immune system. An interesting actually study show that when you connect with people you love, people you like to be with, the brain releases that strong, powerful hormone, oxytocin, the well-known hormone of bonding, nurturing. And oxytocin, beyond giving you that sense of connection, belonging, actually has that power to reduce the quantity of cortisol in your bloodstream. The stress hormone is going down. So really connecting also helps you manage the pressure, manage that level of stress in your day. So that chat can have quite, of a difference. After difficult conversation, can help you to bounce back emotionally, to come back into something which is much easier to operate from for the next conversation to be optimal and constructive. And if you, and this is the picture because obviously we know pub are already or are going to be closed in the UK, and we may have not that capacity to meet up with our friends outside anymore. I mean, I would say, just being with your dog, just being, on the phone can make a difference. So try to really think about how you're going to manage the new lockdown to keep those time to connect and feed yourself with positive energy. That's my dog Lulu, by the way. She may come to bark at some point today. Another question, and I don't have a poll, so I'm just going to ask you to maybe use the chat box too, because this is quite personal. But what activity gives you energy? All right, physical energy this time. What do you do? What have you done that really keep your physical energy high enough, give you that boost? You want to use the chat box and share what keeps you energized today in your routine. Or you can unmute yourself and speak too. All right, let's see. You've got, well, quite a number of yoga, running, walking outside, sport in general. Yeah, Pilates. Very good. Quite a range. Socializing clearly also does lift our energy, as we said. Yoga, I must say, which is quite popular in the UK, in the West, is a great practice that really ticks different boxes of fitness, in terms of resistance training and strengthening your muscles, in terms of obviously stretching, also in terms of balance, which is one element many people tend not to train, unfortunately. May miss a bit the cardio, which is what you'll get with running and brisk walking, but clearly, it's a great practice to have a holistic fitness, integral fitness. So the question now is, obviously, as we know they are busy, is when was the last time you did it? Was it this morning, yesterday, last week, last month? I mean, think about this, but the point obviously is to say every day ideally is what we want to achieve. We know from medical study. We know from the sports medicine doctors that, you know, five days a week, that's what we need. Actually, every day we need something. We have to stay active throughout the day, not just, you know, every day. But if you do nothing, do something. And that something could be just stretching, walking, standing up as you speak on the phone with your colleagues. If you do something, don't just do the same thing all the time. I love to run, but you know, running just train one side, one type of fitness, cardio, and actually the low parts of the body. So find different form of fitness that really bring you that integral fitness. What is clear is we all need, in order to really care for the people we love, the people we work with, the first step, and that was the message in my first session, please take care of yourself. Have some time for yourself. I mean, it can be quite difficult if you have to juggle between kids, family, jobs, many issues, you know, to be the last one to be served. But you have to put on your oxygen mask first if you want to still be able to help others, especially as we enter long-term crisis. All right, so keep in mind those things that really rejuvenate you, help you to stay energized, and make sure you block time every day, not just once a week, not just on holidays, not just waiting for retirement to take place, but every single day to have that time for yourself. So, you know, this reality of the downward spiral is clear. It's something that we all face and we all go through from time to time. We have to accept that reality. But simple things like the one I did share do make a difference. Up to you to decide how to make them your reality, but clearly we have to learn to reduce that confusion, that kind of thinking machine on and losing the clarity after some time, or disengaging from the present, and managing that, you know, emotional, mental distress that can actually take a toll on our engagement and capacity to connect with others and perform well in our days. Now, I mean, we know too that, you know, when you think about resilience, there's a base camp. There is clearly, I mean, a foundation for us to be able to manage well our emotional, mental fitness. We have to first manage that physiological reality. So, I mean, we go back to the classic, the things we all know. The problem is, though we know, we often don't do enough or don't do at all, or actually stop doing because of busy days and difficult times. So that kind of, you know, foundation of physiological resilience, I mean, this can be better mastered if we can have those activities, that one practice in the day, maybe when we start in the day, to bring calm, to create that physiological calm deep inside ourselves. We can clearly have, through that practice, we can feel that the heart rate is slowing down, the blood pressure is going down, that kind of, you know, internal machine is really at rest. So it could be anything. It could be, you know, as we started right today, you know, doing some kind of meditation practice. It has become quite a popular one, but it's a difficult one to do daily. Or simply some breathing. We know breathing is very effective. It's so simple. Just people, you know, tick the box and do not do it daily, but clearly it's one that can bring you that physiological rejuvenation. And we also know that, you know, things like fitness, as we discussed, nutrition, eating healthy stuff that really actually bring a stable supply of energy throughout the day, keep our mood in good level, and actually our capacity to control ourselves in terms of impulses as well as in terms of attention. The way we eat influence the way we'll actually think and feel. And sleep is the one that probably most of us have neglected too much over the past decade. So I mean, my kind of question to you, and I would like you to use the chat box. I don't think, let me check, do we have actually, I don't think we've got a poll for this one, but can you tell me how many hours on average in the weekdays do you sleep? Weekdays, How many hours at night do you sleep? Let's see. All right, do you sleep, not should you sleep, right? So how many hours do you get on average in the weekdays? And we try to make some kind of an average. I've got a few 8, a couple of 6, a few 7, some in between. It's quite a range actually. We clearly, I mean, I guess the average I will see here will be 7, which is quite, the average number of hours I get from people. Now, probably that, when you go to speak with a sleep expert, they will actually give you that range of 7 to 9 hours. Problem is actually many people first, some people will not go to that minimum of 7. Some will even go beyond the 9 hours. The specialist is pretty clear that less than 7, more than 9 hours are detrimental to our health, and not just in terms of physical health, but clearly mental and emotional health. Even your capacity to read facial expression is compromised with poor sleep. The problem is many of us tend to stick to 7 because 7 is actually the minimum they can be ready to live with, and they may fail to notice that actually they may need more than 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9 hours. The only way to know is, for a few days, maybe on holidays, no laptop, no smartphone, no spouse, no dog, whatever. No disruption, no kind of stimulation in the evening. You fall asleep at sunset, like in the old days in wildlife, and you wake up at sunrise with the sun, not with your alarm clock. And you will see after a few days how many hours feel good. But what is clear is if you go on less than 7, it really can't work. For 99.9% of the population, there are exceptions, but clearly it doesn't help. And a study showed that when you take 3 groups of people, one group sleep 8 hours a night for 7 days and then perform cognitive tasks. Second group, 6 hours a night for 7 days and then do the same cognitive tasks like the one you do at your desk. And the third group, the poor fellows, was asked to skip an entire night of sleep and then perform cognitive tasks, the same cognitive task. Well, the second group, sleeping 6 hours a night, 7 days, had the same lower performance than the group skipping an entire night of sleep. And we all know how we feel when you skip an entire night of sleep, right? So the message here is to say, you may not notice the cost in your performance when you sleep 6 hours, but it does have an impact. The best way to know what you miss and maybe whether you're optimal or not is to try to add a bit more and then find the right quantity for yourself. All right, but what you lose in the weekdays, you can't recuperate in the weekend. That's not the rules of biology. You can't fight millions of years of evolution here. You have to really pay attention to what you need and just do it. And even if you have got different special exceptional night, try to go back into that kind of regular routines. All right, so base camp is important, but the mental garden, that kind of mental fitness, is quite key right now as we go through a longer crisis and clearly very uncertain times. So a question, and I'm going to use the poll these times. If you think about your mind and the way you think, how many thoughts do you have on average per day? If you could count the number of thoughts you have, how many thoughts do you think you have yourself? Okay, so it's your mind, your thinking machine. Try to estimate, based on your past few days, and I know each day can be different. What do you think is the number of thoughts spinning in your mind? All right, let's see, we've got. All right, let me release and share the result. We've got 45 people saying 6,000, 40% 60,000, 15% saying 600. Now, you may question how on earth can we even track the number of thoughts in our mind? Well, I mean, don't ask me, but I mean, it seems that there are actually now ways with brain imaging to look at the way the brain is stimulated and the thoughts are coming up. But studies suggest a range going from 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day spinning in your mind. And actually, that's quite a lot, obviously, and most of them probably quite negative and probably not so helpful. That is the reality of the thinking machine. So I mean, I guess even just at the start of the session, when I ask you to do that body scan and just try to bring your attention to your belly or to your body and to your breath, for some of you it was pretty difficult. I guess for many of you, maybe the mind was actually leaving the body and going into that kind of wild thinking world. That's the reality of the busy mind, the monkey mind. Now, when we collect assessment, we've got around 80,000 assessments collected over the past 8 years. So we have developed this resilience diagnostic, which is based on 60 factors that make and break resilience. We're using this diagnostic when we conduct our program around the world over the 5 continents. When you actually make sense of the data through data analytics, and when you try to extract the key factors of resilience that distinguish the high performers, the high resilient people from the bottom, the one with a lower score, well, those crucible factors in the top 3, after 2 consecutive analyses of those different assessments collected every year, focus come in the top 3. Actually, focus came first, the first survey of analysis, and second last year. Focus is clearly one key factor of resilience. I mean, it's quite easy to understand why, because if you can't keep your attention on what you do, on your practice, on a conversation with someone, how can you perform? How can you actually achieve anything? How can you be aware of how you feel, how you think? Because you never really bring your attention to yourself, right? You can't keep it. So, well, that brings us to the problem of, what break our attention and that reality of toxic thoughts. So let me ask you to imagine, a typical situation I think we all face from time to time. Think that, you went through a difficult day, back-to-back calls, and actually filled with very difficult conversations, especially one. And then, well, the day's over, you just left your desk, opened the door to the kitchen to be with your family, you have your dinner, evening, and then you bring yourself to your bed, you turn off the light, but guess what? You can't turn off the thinking machine, it's still on. And guess what? That thinking machine is coming back to that difficult conversation, and you can't fall asleep. So what do? What can you do? There may be something we can do, right? Now, I mean, what I'm going to share, I mean, it could be thought, by the way, I mean, just to give you some example, I mean, like about what you said, about a project deadline which is not yet on track, just about family, the fact that there will be some things you're not clear about. So those thoughts keep coming. Well, first we have to keep in mind that that brain, that kind of big machine, which is really the powerful part of our body, but not the only one, and clearly, I mean, just one of a machine which is much more complex. But that brain, though it's quite small, consume quite a lot of your oxygen and your actually also blood sugar. 20% of what you breathe goes to the brain, while it's only 2% of your weight, your body weight. 25% of what you eat in terms of blood sugar goes to the brain. And if you overthink, ruminate, worry, turn on that machine, I mean, clearly, I mean, we even consume more than what is usually required by the brain. So it's important to find a way to dispute, to chase those distracting, toxic thoughts. that one, that technique called CCC, is a simple basic technique coming from CBT, Cognitive Behavior Therapy. You may have heard about this one. Catch, check, change, simple 3-step, but 3-step that can really help anyone deactivate those toxic thoughts. So catch it means, catch that thought about maybe that conversation. Check it, ask yourself, is it the right time to think about this issue? Am I not catastrophizing? Is it actually helping me right now to do it? Change it mean, obviously, if it's not helpful, if it's not the right time, if it's not something accurate, and we know there's plenty of, cognitive barriers, plenty of traps of the mind. The mind is not so powerful and accurate as we would like to think. Change it, let it go. Now, to change it, well, you may actually use those questions. So question you may ask yourself to let go those thoughts. The first could be, what do I learn from this experience? Because any experience, any difficult situation bring some learning, some potential development. We know that many of those adversities actually help us becoming stronger, going to the next level of maturity. So what can I learn? What are my options? Trying to go to not just the worst case scenario, but also the most likely and maybe actually the best potential scenario. And at the end, what else is possible? What else, in addition to what I thought, what I see as possible, what else actually, and maybe what else someone like my spouse or a good friend, trusted colleague will tell me, will advise me for this situation to be resolved. So it can be difficult to do the catching if you don't have that capacity to be aware, and that's where meditation kicks in. Clearly meditation, any form of meditation, whether it's through mindfulness, through concentration, even loving kindness, you've got those 3 types of meditation, can help us really be more present and more aware of our feelings, our thoughts, that kind of internal world. What is clear is we all need some time to train that muscle of presence through meditation. Now, meditation can be quite challenging for many, just to stop and do nothing and just witness, observe what happens inside us and maybe around us. It can be quite tricky. Many people actually live in that kind of all time doing mode. They can't stop doing, even on the weekend. So just to stop doing things and just being in that moment can be really difficult. So maybe if it's not sitting, walking without a smartphone in your hands, just be mindful about what you see as you walk, what you feel, what you smell. It's a good starting point. Or maybe just be in the dinner with your family without any screen, any smartphone, and trying to just enjoy the moment. But it's clear from science and many studies, this is from the book written by Daniel Goleman and Richard Davidson. Davidson is a very well-known neuroscientist, specialist of emotions, that really meditation help reduce risk of depression and chronic anxiety. John Kabat-Zinn is another specialist well known to have launched a program to alleviate, to cure depression and chronic anxiety, in addition to medical support using meditation and yoga. So plenty of evidence. The how is really important. Find a way that works for you. So quite a number of tips, practices. Many of them are not new, I know, but again, but do you actually do practice and use them in your day, in your life? And not just, when they are good, positive, but especially when you face the storm and, you are in the rush of the kind of busy day. These are the times when we have to stick to those routines. So what could you do? We've got some time for sharing, maybe. It would be interesting to look in the chat box to see in the chat box, maybe to have from you some possible commitment. What could be one action you like to try from what we covered? One thing that could help you as you step out of this session and go back to your busy day, what could be that practice of resilience you like to try or to re-engage with? If you want to share through the chat box, that would be nice. But we do have some time to for questions. So Emily said to walk offline once a day. That's a good one. And clearly, you know, I will advise anyone who can't or find it difficult to start with just, you know, half an hour, 20 minutes, putting the smartphone away. But it should be possible for all of us to have at least some time off. Even for people who do need to support others, there must be a time when they can just switch off, as they do when they sleep, hopefully. Focus time, yeah, for you, Clara. And I mean, you've got plenty of ways to do it. You know, the Pomodoro technique, where you just place a kind of a clock, or you have an app that says for 25 minutes you stay on that task. Monotask, no other distraction, no other actions. Just that actually force you to, as long as you are until you have reached that 25-minute duration, you have to stay. You can't get water, you can't, you know, do anything else. You have to just do the task. Sleep, early bedtime make a difference for sure, for deep sleep. Meditation, yeah, it's a big win. I would not say quick win. And I would say for the one who find meditation difficult, my advice is start with breathing. You know, breathing can be so impactful if you can just have a breathing practice, even for just a few minutes. That will make quite some wonder, and then you can move from breathing to meditating. Any question? And as we have some times for question, it would be nice to hear from you, or anything you like to add. You know, it's not rocket science for many of what I shared, but there may be actually some further advice or best practice you'd like to share with the group.
Thierry, just a quick practical question from Emily. Were there any recommended tools or apps around meditating that you perhaps recommend?
Oh yeah, lots, many. I mean,
I'm sure.
The most popular in the UK is Headspace and Calm, CALM. You've got thousands, honestly speaking. I mean, and my advice would be, you know, you can start with an app. You can get a podcast too. I mean, my favorite one are the one from Jack Canfield and Tara Brach. But frankly, I mean, it can just simply be, I mean, good to read books too. I mean, John Kabat-Zinn has written a few books on meditation. I mean, he has a very good experience of bringing meditation into that kind of world of healthcare. So very much supported by science. But I guess, yeah, I mean, I think the best would be to have someone, maybe even, you know, through a video conversation to guide you through that, because at some point, if you really want to make it a reality, having a kind of feedback from a coach, from an experienced person, make a difference. But my advice, start with a slot in your day, ideally in the morning, even just 2 minutes, you know, and could go from 2 to 20 minutes, and maybe an hour for some, you know, but start with something which is realistic and enjoyable. Quiet place. It could even be outside. If you like to run, I saw many actually people doing running, like I do. Every day I run, but sometimes after my run, I will sit on the bench outside, especially summer, or not. When it's not too cold, and then I will just meditate on the bench right after my running. Yoga, obviously. I mean, for the one who practice yoga, is, I mean, what you do in terms of asanas is there to lead to that meditation practice. So I mean, there's nothing better, nothing better than a yoga practice to prepare yourself for meditation practice. But yeah, Headspace, Calm, I think two apps really nice. Yeah, Valerie did share about Calm too. What else we have as question, Christine?
Another question from Stephanie, actually. This is a great question. How best can we help others when we see they're lacking resilience? And are there any quick practical things you'd recommend to do?
Yeah, well, first I must say, you know, the danger is we're so enthusiastic about our own practice that we start become kind of crusaders of resilience around Earth. And you know, when people are deep down in that downward spiral, and there's no motivation, there is actually no awareness, they may be even denial, or they may actually be quite frustrated by things around them. I mean, it's quite difficult to convince them to make a change. So I think it will be first be patient, and understand that we all come from different walk of life, and so I think to walk the talk clearly is the first step to show the way, and then maybe to connect, to try to build that kind of trust with them, so they can listen to you, and that means finding the right way to help them. I mean, you've got, if you're in depression, for instance, you've got two paths, cognitive and physical. So if you change your lifestyle, the way you sleep, eat, exercise, clearly in terms of hormones, in terms of everything will be reversed. But it's quite difficult to make those kind of change at the physical level when you are in depression, because there's no motivation. So the cognitive path is when, with the help of a specialist, you try to address the way you think, trying to look into your thinking pattern, which can be distorted and inaccurate, to reframe them to be more optimistic, more accurate. So to provide that kind of support, you may try to again connect, spend some time, and try to also convince the other person that it's okay to be to feel low, and to feel not at the best level. I mean, we all go through this kind of life experience. So to maybe share your own vulnerability, the times when you went down and what you did. So it's not about putting too much pressure and like, you are weak or broken, but actually we all feel this experience from time to time. So sharing your personal life experience and the way that would help you coming back to a more decent level can help, I think. But be patient. Yeah, Jack Cornfield, sorry, let me write it. So Jack Cornfield, that's the name, and Tara Bragg. And if you've got my email address, I think somewhere, but let me actually put my email address. But if you want, I can send to the one who are quite keen to try a podcast that Jack and Tara offer, which is really great, based on 30 daily sessions. So feel free to email me and I'll send that link to you. It's free of charge, actually. But again, there's many different people, experts. You have to find the one that resonate with you. We're all different. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Thierry, that leaves me to say a big thank you. I'm pleased I started my day with a workout in my gym to the final countdown. So it was a bit of a humorous start to my day. And I certainly feel a lot more relaxed. So thank you. I hope you've taken some of those sort of 10 tips, and, some of them will resonate more than others. But as I said, we'll share the recording with you all as well. And the podcast details we can also resend. But if there's anything else you want to follow up on, please reach out to Thierry directly or anyone at the Elliott Scott HR team. Really appreciate your time today. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you, Thierry.
Thank you, Kirstine. Thank you, everyone. It was really great to be with you. Stay in touch. And well, yeah, have a good practice.